welcome back to the MOOC course on corporate social responsibility. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. And in the previous classes we have discussed how the CSR process should be framed. So in this class we will take that discussion further. In this lecture we will take that discussion further, and we had discussed how stakeholder integration can take place in the CSR process. Now I will share with you a few more models that have been suggested, a few more methods that have been suggested regarding how CSR can be integrated into the strategic process, into the process of planning and implementing strategy of the organization. So like I told you in a previous class, I will not give you this is not a one-stop shop for methods. I will not give you 10 steps to effective CSR planning, 15 steps to implementation, 20 steps to improvement. No, I am sharing with you what people across the world have done, and I hope that you will be able to pick whatever you think fits best with your needs and come up with something that is unique to your specific environment, to your specific situation. I am only a facilitator. So I shared with you the stakeholder integration model. Now I will share some more methods, some more models of the CSR process, and that is how you do CSR. And so that is something that I want to show you. So let's see what we have here for you. Okay, the CSR process. Now one method that has been suggested here is by Riordan and Riordan and Fairbass. I hope I am pronouncing their names right. And they have suggested this two-phase CSR process. So in the first phase they say that the CSR strategy is developed, and this phase consists of the values that the organization has, and these values consist of the vision and the mission of the organization and the integration of the social responsibility that the organization is planning to take up into the vision and mission of its into its existing vision and mission. The second aspect of the values is objectives. What is the organization trying to do? What is it? Where is it heading? So CSR, the socially responsible aspect of the business, is integrated into the values as objectives. This is what we want to achieve. Point 1, point 2, point 3. Every company has a vision and a mission and objectives. Now the social responsibility of the organization is integrated into the vision, mission and objectives right at the start. Then the scope is defined. How much do you want to do? How much are you willing to spread? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to go? How far do you want to go with helping the society? So that is integrated here. Then within phase 1, then we have alternatives. Different alternatives are explored. What are the stakeholder priorities? I told you we've discussed stakeholder expectations, we've discussed what stakeholders want, what kinds of things do they expect. So what are the stakeholder priorities and how far are you willing to attend to them? The causes that you support. Different alternatives are generated. The causes that you want to support through your organization are decided at the planning stage, at the CSR planning stage. What kinds of things do you want to support? What kinds of activities do you want to support? How far do you want to go with helping the community? We had discussed Professor Prakash Sethi's different states that he had proposed. So which state do you feel you are at? How much risk are you willing to take? So all that is taken care of here. Then what kinds of causes do you want to support? Then methods of support. What do you want to really do? We are talking about how CSR. What do you want to really do? Do you want to go out into the field and help physically? In that case, you will have to have people who are willing to volunteer. You will have to have resources. You will have to have the means to go physically into the community and take care of things. So methods of support, or do you want to give cash donations, do you want to help out with equipment, do you want to have certain days in a year, do you want this to be a regular affair, all that has to be decided. Then the practices and policies, methods of support, how far do you want to go, what kinds of things do you want to do. So what kinds of things do you want to do, how far do you want to go, what do you have, what are the methods you have to support whatever it is that you want to support. Do you want to go out into the field, do you want to donate equipment, do you want to offer services, do you have the time, do you have the money, do you have people who are willing to go out into the community and get in touch with the community and help them out. Do you want to, do you want to allocate a certain number of employees only for this purpose? What do you want to do? So methods of supporting, that needs to be decided. Then the practices and the policies, what are you already doing, and what kinds of policies do you want to frame so that it can continue to happen in future. So these different alternatives need to be generated at this stage. What do you want to do, what are the options available to you, how far do you want to take this. How, when we talk about policies, we are talking about putting everything down in black and white. So making and putting everything down, formalizing everything, and then what kinds of policies do you want to draft. So all those options are generated in the planning stage. Then the strategy that you want to adopt. So how do you select this strategy? What combination of practices do you incorporate into your strategy? So different strategies are discussed. These strategies need to be, or the strategy of incorporating CSR needs to be based on the value it brings to the organization and the fit of the strategy with the current strategy that the organization has, with the organizational culture. What is the organization all about? What is the culture in the organization? How, so if we can't really go into that discussion at this point, but you really need to have an understanding of how this can be integrated with the organizational culture, with the context, with the environment, with what the organization is doing, with where it is headed. All that needs to be brought together. The second phase that Riordan and Fairbus suggest is the implementation of CSR. So they talk about implementing and controlling. Different stages within implementation are implementing and controlling. Communication, we will have a significant amount of discussion on CSR communication. We've already talked about stakeholder dialogue. How do you implement things? You tell people. What is communication? You tell people where you are headed, what do you want to do, and in telling people, you end up doing, you implement things by telling people. You delegate, you tell people what needs to be done, you convince them to come on board with you, you tell people what needs to be done, you ask for their feedback, you integrate whatever they tell you. So and stakeholder dialogue needs to take place. What do the stakeholders want? Are they happy with the policies? You draw policies in consultation with them. Again, this is not the stakeholder integration model, but this too talks about the importance of stakeholder dialogue only in the implementation stages, whereas in the stakeholder integration strategy, the stakeholder dialogue was throughout, right from the planning to the implementation to the feedback stage, it was there. Then there is the output. What is the output of the CSR activity that you're doing? In implementation, you also see, you measure the goodwill. You don't measure it, but you can see it. So you make a note of it, you report it. Reputation is another output. Your public reputation improves. Your public image improves. The third output is your image, and you assess that. You assess your goodwill, you assess your reputation, you assess your image. So these are all the elements of the output. You generate goodwill, You have the CSR enhances your reputation, CSR enhances your public image. We will talk about the benefits of CSR in one of the upcoming lectures, and you will see how each of these activities contributes to something of value to the organization. Okay. Now, another model has been proposed by Backick, and that model talks about a 10-step process. The first step is ensuring compliance and commitment of the top management of an organization. You want to do CSR, your top management has to be on board, your top management has to be convinced. They need to be able to comply with whatever needs to be done. They also need to be committed, they need to be able to take it from beginning to the end. So that is something that needs you start, that's where you start. If once the top management is committed, then you analyze existing business policies, processes and performance in the context of social responsibility. You find out what is it that you are doing currently that helps you fulfill the expectations of the world around you. So that is very, very important. You try to find out which of the existing policies, practices and processes and performances help you fulfill your responsibilities to the environment. Make a note of those, find out where the gaps are, find out what you are doing well, what you are not doing well, where you are coming up to the expectations of the society, where you are not, where does the environment expect more from you. Then what do is you identify key aspects of the business used by a company to influence the local community. Which part of your business is going to influence the local community? Which part of your business is going to help the local community? Is it the production? Maybe, maybe not. In the production, the maximum you can do is you can control the damage you do to the environment around you. I am talking about big factories, I am not talking about service industries. Service industries, yes, there is some output. So if you are running a restaurant, make sure you don't throw food, the leftovers on the streets. Make sure you don't encourage stray dogs and stray cats and monkeys to come and eat the food that you discard. Make sure you dispose of the leftovers and the food that is left over at night and the food that people leave on plates in a manner that is conducive to the environment. Either you can have a pit, a compost pit, or for food left over on the plate or plates of people which cannot be consumed by others, that can be put into a compost pit. And the other kind of food, or the food that is left over, that is fresh but that is left over at night, that nobody has consumed, that can be given to the people on the street or to some place. You can put it in the fridge, you can give it to an orphanage, you can give it to some place that can use this food. So instead of letting it go waste, that is one way of helping the community. Otherwise, if you throw it out on the street, what will happen is stray dogs, stray cats, even monkeys, rats, rodents, cockroaches, everything will make its home in that locality and everybody will blame you for it. So that is something that we don't want happening. So that is socially responsible behavior. At the production stage, at the operation stage, at every stage, find out where you can make a difference. If you are a restaurant, it's not only important to serve, say, free meals or give something. Maybe this is one way in which you can take care of the community. You can make sure that your physical existence does not harm the world around you. Okay, so you find out whichever business you are in. If you are in the business of education, for example, you are a teacher, you are running a school, maybe you can have some programs for the lesser advantaged children, for the vulnerable groups, or for adults. Maybe something that is maybe that is something you can do. Which part? Identify the part of your business that can help the society around you, and that can within the organization, that can do something above and beyond what it does to make money within the organization and outside the organization. Okay, so that is something you need to really put your finger on and document. Stage 4 or step 4 in this model that has been proposed is identifying problems of local community and their connection to business interests. What is it that the local community is facing? What kinds of problems are they facing, and how can your business help solve those problems? So you draw up a connection, you find out what kinds of problems they are facing, and you draw up a connection between what you can do, what kinds of skills, between the kinds of skills your people have and what the organization or what the community needs done, and draw up this match and then see where you can make a difference using existing skills, existing capabilities, existing resources. Then step 5, you define your goals, your strategies and your operational plans. Now you have what you need. You have what you need. You have found out what the community wants. You have found out what you can do. You have found out a match between what the community wants, what its expectations are, where you can make a difference, what your people can do. You have the commitment of the top management. So now you can start bringing things together. You have your side of the picture in place. Now what you do is you say, okay, this is what the community wants, this is what we can offer, this is where there is an overlap. Within this part of the overlap, let us see what we can do. You define your goals. We want to go from point A to point B. We are disposing of our waste food, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe we can have a bottle recycling center. Since we are running a restaurant and there are so many plastic bottles being generated, maybe we can just have a recycling bin put outside our restaurant, or we can collect something, if you really want to do something, maybe you can have a center for the collection of recyclable items. Not a center, but just maybe a big bin. So anybody walking on the street can throw their recyclable items into that. That is one way in which you can help the community. And you have somebody come and pick it up. So that is, that is where what you are doing matches with what the community can use also, just on the outskirts. I gave you the example in a previous class of IIT Kharagpur running a school within our campus. We have a large, we have 3 schools. And we have very reasonable amount of space given to these schools. Lot of facilities are given to the teachers. So so they have the facilities, and a lot of very good teachers come here and teach, and those facilities are open. They've been set up primarily to help the children living within the IIT campus. So children of employees, teachers, students, staff, everybody, plus kids from outside also come and they use the same facilities. So everybody is happy. There is a way in which we are helping the community by doing something that we are helping the community within and outside the organization. Okay, so you keep these things in mind, and based on these you draw up plans. You decide on your goals, you decide on your strategies, you decide on your operational plans, you decide how you want to go about doing these things. Then what do you do is you provide necessary human and material resources. You draw up a plan, you write down a plan, this is what we want to do, this is the timeline, this is the budget, and then you give the necessary human and material resources. So you budget for management, coordination of activities and communication. So you budget for these things: communication to the community, communication to the beneficiaries about what you're doing, communication to your staff. You have people who can take care of these things, you have people who can coordinate these things. Then you also budget for specific costs of implementation activities. You have 2 types of costs here. One is the coordination of management and coordination of activities and the communication. The second is the specific costs of implementation activities. So while implementing, how much cost do you incur? and that has to be budgeted for. Then implementation of programs and plans is step 7. So in the 7th step, once you have given the necessary human and material resources, then you plan for implementation of, then you start implementing the programs and the plans that you have. Then you measure the results and effects. Okay, so once you implement your programs, after that you start measuring. We will also talk about measurement of CSR in the upcoming lectures. So you measure the results of your work, you measure the effects of your work, you report and communicate these results, and then you, step 10 is you research the perception and attitudes of internal and external stakeholders. So you find out what you need to do, you report, you communicate the results, you research the perception, you find out how people have perceived whatever you have done, you find out what people are thinking about what you have done, and people within the organization and people outside the organization. And after you have done that, you go back to step 5, which is you may want to define goals, strategies and operational plans. So after you have evaluated everything, you have found out what you have done, you have reported the results, you have evaluated them, you based on your evaluations, based on your measurements, you have researched the perception, you have found out what the stakeholders think about what you have done. Then you go back and you may need to revise this. You may need to redefine goals, strategies and operational plans, and the cycle continues. The top 4 have already been taken care of. Okay, this is one more model. Now the third model is this model that has been suggested by the National Voluntary Guidelines on Social, Environmental and Economic Responsibilities of Business, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. I told you about the business responsibility reporting guidelines, and these had been shared with you. Okay, so the National Voluntary Guidelines, we discussed this as a part of CSR in India, and we discussed the National Voluntary Guidelines of 2011 proposed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and we had talked about the various principles. Very briefly we will just go through these and then we will go back, and this is a slight repetition, but I think it will help you because we covered this in a previous week. So we talked about these principles, we talked about their implications here. Principle 1 is businesses should conduct and govern themselves with ethics, transparency and accountability. Core elements were given to you. Principle 2 was businesses should provide goods and services that are safe and contribute to sustainability through their life cycle. Then principle 3 was businesses should promote the well-being of all employees. Principle 4 was businesses should respect the interests of and be responsive towards all stakeholders, especially those who are disadvantaged, vulnerable and marginalized. Principle 5 was businesses should respect and promote human rights. Principle 6 was businesses should respect, protect and make efforts to restore the environment. Principle 7 was businesses when engaged in influencing public and regulatory policy should do so in a responsible manner. Principle 8 was businesses should support inclusive growth and equitable development. Principle 9 was businesses should engage with and provide value to their customers and consumers in a responsible manner. So these were the principles that we had talked about. The NVG, the National Voluntary Guidelines, and I'll just pull up what we were talking about here. Okay, so NVG guidelines, the National Voluntary Guidelines issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, give us the steps for building a strategy for responsible business using these principles, and the steps that are suggested are: step 1, analyze your business. So when we compare these models, this is analyzing your business. Find out what the key business drivers are. What drives your business in terms of economic, social drivers, political drivers? What are the drivers of your business? What is it that is propelling your business in the direction that it is going in the direction that you want it to go? What are the strengths, weaknesses and opportunities and threats? Conduct a SWOT analysis, SWOT, for those of you who are not familiar with this. Find out what are the strengths of your organization, where are the weaknesses, identify the weaknesses and work on improving them. Find out what are the opportunities currently available to you and what is threatening your organization. What really happens is, when we are working, when we start on these ambitious plans, what happens is that we forget what we have and we are looking for, or we start talking about what we don't have. If you just look around and if you analyze what you currently have, you'll be able to do so much more and you'll be so much more satisfied. What do you have in your hand? Have you used it 100%? A very, very nice example, though unrelated, of something that is capable of a lot of things but that we don't use to its full capacity is our laptop or even our phone. This is technology. We don't use it. We say, okay, I need a calculator, I need this, I need that. Your computer can do so much, but you don't use it fully. We use our spreadsheets many times. We have basic calculations, but we really don't use the full capacity of our computer. That is one very underutilized piece of technology. Like that, there are so many things in strategy planning, in business planning. We don't look at the resources we have. Have we checked with our people? Have we seen how much we have? It's not only about money, it's not only about time, it's not only about energy. What is the skill set? What is the willingness? Maybe the people in your organization are willing to do a lot more than you are expecting them to do. Maybe they have the skills that you need. So that is what you need to identify. These are the opportunities. Strengths and opportunities. What do you have in front of you? What kinds of announcements do you have? What kinds of options do you have available to you? What are the threats to your organization? Build your defenses against the threats. So when you are talking about, step 1 is analyzing your business. Find out what the key business drivers are. Find out what the opportunities and threats, strengths and weaknesses are. Then articulate the responsible business policy. Find out how you want your business to be seen as a responsible business. Step 2, identify risks and issues. Find out the issue that you want to go after. Network with people. Network with the people who can help you follow up with that issue. Prioritize, generate alternatives and prioritize. This is what I want to do first, this is what I want to do next, this is what I want to do after that, and so on. So you prioritize what you want to do, prioritize how you want to do things, identify generate a list of alternatives, find out what your risks are, find out what are the issues within and outside the organization that you are dealing with, and then find out how you can deal with them. Then step 3, develop a strategy. The strategy can be operational, develop a strategy for the develop an operational strategy, develop an overall strategy for your organization. Then compliance. Do you want your strategy to just be operational? Do you want it to go long term? Do you want it to align with the vision of your organization? Do you want to ensure only compliance, or do you want to go beyond compliance? States 2 and 3 in the format suggested by Professor Prakash Sethi that we talked about in the previous class. We talked about these states that Professor Prakash Sethi had talked about. So is it only an obligation? Is it a responsibility? Is it social responsiveness? Which state are you in? Identify the state that you're in. Okay. Do you want to only comply with the legal requirements, or do you want to go above and beyond the legal requirements and do something more? You have to identify that and you have to develop a strategy in accordance with that. Then step 4, plan and implement the strategy. Have a roadmap. I am going to start at this point, this is where I will go, this is next, this is next, this is next. clear objectives. What do you want to achieve? Be very clear. I want to help the society. That is not a clear objective. I want to help improve the educational standards of the children living around the factory. Not a very clear objective. I want to set up a school for the underprivileged kids within Hijli area of Kharagpur. Very measurable, very definite, very clear cut objective. I will set up a school up to class 8 for the children below poverty, coming from families below poverty line in Hijli area, living in Hijli area of Kharagpur town. Very measurable objective. I want to help these children. I want to help children of vulnerable groups living in Hijli area of Kharagpur town. Very measurable, not too high flown, very doable. So, you restrict, you drop your boundaries, you have clear objectives, then you train people. Okay, focus on the screen please. Thank you. So, you train people. At this stage I will do this, at this stage I will do this. You train your employees to do that. Then beware of the low hanging fruit. It is very easy to see results where there are none. Low hanging fruit is something that is visible to you. It is low hanging, you do not really, you reach up and you grab the fruit. So, it is the early results. Early results can many times be misleading. So, be very careful. Adoption of indicators for each principle. So, each principle has been discussed with you, the core elements of each principle have been discussed with you. So, you adopt the indicators of each of these principles. Okay. Then step 5, monitor and review your progress. Monitor what you started with, where you have gone. Measure each aspect of what you are doing. So, you measure the different aspects of whatever you started with, measure the work that you have done. Then you learn and refine the processes and go back to step 1 if required. Okay, go back to this and redefine this. That is what happens in step 5. Monitor, keep an eye on how things are progressing, measure these things and keep taking the feedback and putting it back in, and go back to step 1 if required. If not, then you communicate to the stakeholders, convey the rationale, tell people why. Rationale is significance. Why are you doing what you are doing? Listen to the community, listen to the people who are implementing what you have asked them to implement, listen to the people who are doing the work you have asked them to do, listen to the people who are telling you about their problems, listen to the management, listen, embed it in communications, then report. Generate a report, let people know what you have done, and then finally go back to step 1. So, this cycle continues. These are some of the ways in which you can create your CSR process. The NVG guidelines are available on the internet. The link has been provided to you in the slides, in the previous slides, as well as in these slides that have been given to you. I will also put it up if you want in a separate document if required. Just let me know on the forum if you'd like me to do that. Very helpful, and if you want I can download these guidelines and put them up. They are available freely on the internet. So, you can with, of course, I'll have to see if I need permission to do that. So, just let me know on the forum how you would like to access these, and this is what Government of India wants us to do. So, various models have been proposed. You don't need to follow any of these models, you can mix and match, but I just wanted to share with you what was out there. Now, I would like you all to, maybe if some of you want me to go through your plans, if some of you want me to check your plans, I can do that. Not for all, but maybe some of you I can help you with that. Please feel free to send me an email at the official email address for this course, and we can stay in touch. Just show me what you come up with that is unique, that is new, that's a mixture of these plans that is very specific to your situation. So, you will have to define your situation and then develop a step by step plan of implementation of CSR, and that I'll see that, and that will be my true reward. That will show me how much you have learned. So please discuss on the forum. That is all we have time for in this lecture. We will continue with some more discussion on CSR in the upcoming classes. Thank you very much for listening.